We are talking about sustainable and regenerative design. We are talking about carbon neutral construction. We are talking about buildings generating energy, energy generation, like the Bahrain World Trade, where they have joined two bridges and wind turbine is there. Then we are talking about vertical ecosystems with biofacades and air purifying plants. Especially in Milan, there's a building which is very interesting and which integrates hydroponic farms. We are talking about next generation high-rise buildings where waste management and water management is very, very important. So closed loop water systems and on-site waste to energy conversion. So the buildings themselves are by itself the technologies, and then I'm just comparing what I did that time. That time we are giving more emphasis on analysis, design, aesthetics. But now things have changed because analysis has almost frozen and design almost, I'm not very sure because I've been out of academics for a long time, whether the code of practice for high-rise buildings has come or not, or we are just following certain codes, especially for the drift and all that. But still, I think we are moving to smart and adaptive systems. We are talking about AI optimized operation. We just saw a presentation how AI can do real-time adjustments, not only to engineering, to lighting, to HVAC and elevators, using IoT sensors. So these are the things that have now come into the building systems, and we as engineers should be aware of these things. We are talking about dynamic facades. These facades do shape-shifting exteriors that respond to weather. So depending on the weather and the wind, the facade changes colors and it gives a very good appearance. The best example thing is if you go to Abu Dhabi, you will find many buildings there. And today we are talking about digital twins. We have, in manufacturing, we have digital twins. Similarly, virtual replicas for predictive maintenance and energy management is a way where you can actually analyze and tell what is going to happen. And as Pradeep rightly told, that today the most important thing is resilience and safety, especially the structure's adaptation to earthquake and wind loads. How the dampers have been used in this. The Shanghai Tower, if you have seen the structure, is one of the best examples how base isolation systems has been implemented. So I see many young faces, so please go to the literature. We have to learn from others. Worldwide, many things are happening. So don't restrict yourself to simple design analysis. Just see what others are doing. So this requires extensive reading, even though if you're not in academics, but try to learn from others, learn by reading, learn by doing. And today, we are talking about fire-resistant materials. Now a new discipline has come, structural fire engineering. So, what happens to the building, how it behaves after a fire, how can you improve the fire rating. So these are things which you need to be aware. And we are talking of today pandemic resilient structures where in the building you have touchless technologies, the ultraviolet sea air purification, and adaptable ventilation. So these are things, that are happening in these next generation high-rise buildings, and we are talking about human-centric spaces. If you go to Singapore and other places, you see sky gardens and terraces, social hubs with green spaces. That is now the new norm. Singapore is a very good example, you can see. And then we are talking about hybrid functionality, mixed-use designs, combining offices, homes, retails. So a same building with different functionality. Functionality is, so your need changes. So how you can do it. And then healthcare also we have, change of usage is there. So how do you adapt to this is very, very important. And then we are talking about biophilic interiors, natural light optimization, and indoor greenery for mental health. These are very important in construction, which should be given into this next generation high-rise buildings. And more importantly, advanced construction technology. So technology of construction also has changed. It's not that, one two-story building takes 1 year to build. Does not mean that 100-story buildings will take 50 years. So it's not like that. The technology has changed. We are talking about modular and prefab, 3D printed. I myself, as a director of the NIT AP, have constructed the campus in 6 months, with prefab. Beautiful technology has come. And the best example is, Dubai's 3D printed office. So 3D printing is going to be the future of many of us. And we are talking about robotics, robotics, drones for inspections. See, human inspection now is gone. Drones go and inspect, and then you actually evaluate and analyze, including, layers of bricklaying, the process of construction, everything is done through drones. These are all happening. I see a lot of young people. You should be aware of these things. And then material science has also improved a lot. We are talking about self-healing concrete. We had our professor from JNTU who was talking about bacterial concrete which self-heals. And then graphene enhanced composites. These are the things that are coming into the building technology. And today we are talking about high-rise buildings with urban integration, where we have transport hubs, we have energy grid systems, we have disaster shelters. Somebody was checking that building I think Pradeep was telling, building a shelter is a big challenge. So you require reinforced and other things. And then, so a lot of future concepts are coming, especially, floating space, scraper foundations for flood-prone areas or extreme heights. Then we are talking about carbon capture, facades coated in carbon dioxide absorbing materials, especially in Paris, there is a building that has been doing very well. And then we are talking about holographic interfaces where virtual and interactive building surfaces are available. So there are many challenges ahead for us as engineers in the next generation high-rise buildings. Pradeep already pointed out, I would like to re-emphasize cost versus innovation. So there's a lot of opportunity for innovation. I know Rangarao, actually my student, he doing a lot of research, and Anchurya is not here. So a lot of trial and error. In the academics, we can do trial and error. In academics, if I make a mistake, I always say, if I make a mistake, I can wipe in the board. But in real life, you cannot make a mistake. Once you make a mistake, then you will be blamed. So that is very important. So cost versus innovation. So you have to balance cutting-edge technology with affordability. Then there are some regulatory hurdles, the drift and all that in high-rise buildings that you need to be aware. So the outdated codes, some of the codes will restrict us to move further. But that is where, these advanced analysis technologies like ETABS and other softwares, which I think Nayaka was mentioning, Ramesh Nayaka was, I think these things need to be done, and don't just be satisfied with one or two softwares. Try to do this with 2 or 3 softwares, that will, so you get an idea. So what is required for today's present-day engineers is structural insight, You should feel the building, and that is where you will get a very good example. And today, I think there are many beautiful examples in the country, in the world, about next generation high-rise building, or rotating towers buildings. The spiral NYC, vertical forests are there, and then hydrogen power generated things are there. Then we have in Copenhagen, there's a building which actually converts waste to energy plant with a sky slope. Very nice building. And then we have a Telosas Legacy Tower, where equitable resources distribution model is there, which is very useful. I would like to conclude my address. The next generation high-rise building will be living ecosystems, actively healing urban environments while redefining how humanity inhabits vertical space. The race isn't just for height anymore, it is for legacy. Thank you very much.